Good evening. Demon Phil, Comics and More New Jersey here with another interview. And yep, I just keep getting some great ones on this one, and tonight is no exception. I've already done some talking with the gentleman, and it's been fun. There's been some laughs in there, there's been some great memories, and now we're going to share some of that with you as well. But let me go ahead and tell you right now, I met him at the online con that we had a couple weeks back. Uh, Great gentleman, easy to be around, fun to talk to. But you know what? I'm not going to hog this the entire time, so I'm going to go ahead and bring him out. His name is Enrique Lopez.
Hey, evening, Phil. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Enrique? How you doing?
Can't complain. Stuck inside, but hey, we're awesome. We're all still healthy. Yeah.
Hey, inside is safe. That's the good thing. Hey, we got you here tonight because we want to go ahead and discuss some of the things that you've got going and kind of get some emphasis on some of the artwork that you have to offer. Because from what I've seen thus far, it is some amazing artwork that definitely needs some more eyes on it. So we just need to get that out in the open. So let me go ahead and start off with asking, what do you do, and how do we get a hold of you?
Well, I'm an artist. I've been doing this for about. I started back in the '80s, so I took a hiatus right around the '90s because I got a little depressed and they wasn't working out this way. I wasn't getting as much work as I wanted. Went into advertising. Then a few years ago, I got back in thanks to a few friends of mine who were telling me, "Look, get back in here. Let's start working again." I'm primarily a writer. I always enjoyed writing a lot more than anything else. I've been writing since I remember I could hold a pencil, and at the same time, I started illustrating my own stuff, like trying to draw my own stories. And I decided to focus more on the inking part because I always enjoyed the black and white expression of those Savage Sword of Conans that we used to come out. A lot of the stuff that you saw from the 2000 AD kind of books they were always in black and white. The eerie, the creepy stuff that emphasized the dark part of it, not only in the story form, but also as to how to create the mood through the use of the black and the ink. And I always found that more interesting, despite the fact you have to be really good to get there. But it's like, at least I can make some other people look really good. So hopefully that's how I'll get around to stuff lately here.
Oh, absolutely. Now, where do they find you to go ahead and look at your work and
Well,
things
the
of that
easiest
nature?
way is to use. I don't. I'm on Twitter, but I don't like Twitter as much. You'll find most of my best stuff will be on Instagram. It's under Studio May EFL. That's Studio MAENEFL for both Twitter and Instagram. You can also just search for Studio Maine. Maine is MAEN. The reason for that is because I made that studio with my daughter. Her name is Maria. I'm Enrique, so you get the two first letters of our names. So we made the studio name. I'm also on the portfolio. It's under elopez.com, my portfolio, but I'll put that up later. I'll give it to you. It's a lot easier because that's a bit long. But on that portfolio, you can find my
Oh, absolutely.
sketchbooks. You can find my original art there. You'll be able to find, you want to contact me for anything, it's right there. You'll see all my sequential work I've done and stuff like that for presentation purposes. And some of the works I've done professionally already in there. And it's all encompassing in that area. You'll see a lot of the stuff that I started doing a little chibi work as well. I got a little bit of everything, got to market everywhere.
Oh, hey, I greatly agree with you on that one. Now, before we get into actually showing a lot of your work, because I know you've got some of it to show and everything, I want to actually get inside your brain. Don't spit the coffee.
We'll see what we got left of that.
What? What was your favorite comic growing up?
It would be very easy to say Batman because Batman has always been the easiest character I always identified with. From the DC side, from the Marvel side, was always Spider-Man. Those were my two guys. But if we're really going to talk about my favorite character, it's not one of the more popular ones. He's been redone in recent years back, but under the penship of Michael Fleischer, he was absolutely fantastic. I love the Jonah Hex Western. He always had an interesting
Yes.
story behind that stuff. It's this guy who's totally disfigured, but he has more morals or integrity than a lot of people who are better looking. And that always people assume he was this kind of person because of the scarring, but he was a totally different inside, which is like for I felt I identify with that because a lot of people always find me, well, maybe this guy's not that nice or stuff, but when they know me, they go like, hey, he's pretty cool. He's not a bad guy. He's just kind of crusty. There's always been protecting myself from the stuff like from my youth and stuff. I was I'm a son of immigrants. Okay, so I've gone through some things, and therefore I've always been like very protective. So I always identified with that outcast kind of thing for a while. So that was like the my main character from me. So if you asked me if I wanted to write him, I mean, if I ever won a chance to write John Hanks, I would love to do it because they went around later after issue number 92. They sent him when Crisis came around. They sent him to the future, and that was not good. Then I believe Trisdale came back later and did some work that was actually pretty more noir and a little more horror work on that. So actually, it was pretty good. So I think that's a character I would love to see come back and be done again. I think Palmiotti also worked on that for a while, if I'm not mistaken. So
Very nice. Now, let me ask you this: how did you get your start into the industry?
I basically bought a table. It's like, no, I mean, at a recent convention, I'm going to start name dropping. It's time to do the first one here. I was doing a panel with Keith Williams, and it was about how to break into the comic book industry. I was finding it funny. I was like, I'm still waiting, but it's like basically today I tell people all you need to do today to break in is really to have a table set up at a convention, because once you have people standing in front of you, you're in the sense of you're
Mhm.
showing it off. Now, when did I actually try to get in? That's a different story. That's I tried to do that in the 80s when I was reading an avid comic book reader. Then I stopped like everybody else after a while when I went to college. Still, when I went to college, I took a whole bunch of stuff with me, but there were three things I took with me that I needed to take with me. One was the only two issues I had of Jim Starlin's Dreadstar, which was number 7 and number 8 with me, and my Al Archie Goodwin and the Walt Simonson Alien. Actually got an opportunity to Walt Simonson to sign that, and he loved it because it was had tape on it and everything. He was like, "I love when I see this because that means you really love this book." I said, "Dude, it went through college with me. All right, that sucker went with me." So in college, I actually worked on getting all this stuff. Obviously, it exploded again. I was reading a lot of Captain America back then and was starting to have the run where Steve Rogers was stopping being Captain America and all that kind of stuff. Right off the end of the Zek run, and then Dark Knight Crime. The Dark Knight showed up, and then all of a sudden it was like cool again to get back into it, and I started working on that. And once I graduated from college, which by the way, I've never been formally trained in any of this. I want to make it's like I have learned this off the cuff, watching other people. I had the Bible, how to do comics the Marvel way. That's how it all started. And that's the first thing. My parents gave me that book when it came out, and that's how it all started. I would trace over Ernie Colon, Francetta, Buscema, all the Conan stuff, and would just trace over just to learn how to do their style and learn how to get the format and everything. But once I left college and I started developing, working for advertising, I decided, oh, let me try to get into this. And with one of my fellow artists, I wrote a crossover that was before there was actually any crossovers between Marvel and DC of the Punisher and Batman with the Kingpin and the Joker as the main characters. And we got the first few issues going on, and I did all the layouts, and he came in, and then he started doing all the illustration. I was doing all the inking, and I submitted it, and no, no. I came up with some bunch of original ideas. I had written a trilogy in college based on a short story I submitted to Amazing Stories, and it wasn't accepted though. They did say they liked it, but it wasn't polished enough. Well, I was only like 15, but So that story, I grew it into a novel, and then I tried to produce that as a comic book. I tried to pitch it, it didn't quite work. But you got to understand, back then there was only really DC and Marvel. All right, that was it. There was first comics was out there. Valiant, when I started, was just a, a speck in Jim Shooter's mind. It wasn't even ready there. Um, you didn't. You had continuity with Neil Adams, but it was still not much there. It's just him. So there was not a lot of options to actually try out there. Now, first it did have Badger, it did have Nexus by Baron and all this stuff. So there was places to go, but it was not there was not the opportunity to maybe take that much risk. It wasn't until then you saw that Image came in because of all these guys who had gained all this following that they decided to open up the market and then distribute it themselves, which has led up to all the issues we got today with Diamond and all that stuff later. But at that time, I decided, okay, Dark Horse was talking about moving off, just doing the the adaptions and the continuities of like Predator and the Terminator. They had all those famous Alien books, and they're saying we wanted to start moving off into other areas. And I thought, oh, let me pitch them. And actually, on one of the shows we did in the show of the online convention, I showed the script that I presented to the guys at Dark Horse in New York in 94,
Mhm.
94. And no, didn't go here. No, it's not what we were looking for. We're looking more superhero. And that was a space adventure. One of the biggest influences for me is a really obscure title inside of inside of 2000 AD. It was drawn by Carlos Escalera, and written by Alan Moore's Strontium Dogs. Now, this was if anybody remembers that,
I have it.
so you're like in the very small group of people who can recognize that.
Uh-huh.
And it's about the space bounty hunters and stuff like that. And I want to do something similar, but a different vein and stuff. But in to capture that, because there wasn't anything out there that once that was done, there was nothing else really similar to that on the market, and it never went anywhere. I couldn't get it to go, and I went to them with the first 100 issues prepared and everything, and it's like, you're great marketing, but it's not what we want. I goes, okay. So basically, at that moment, I hung it up. I said, look, man, I got a lot of more work to do. My youngest daughter had been born. We got to start making some bills, paying some stuff. And I let it go, and I let it go. And then it wasn't until like 3 years ago that I bumped into Billy Tucci, Mark McKenna, Keith Williams, and a whole bunch of people. And they're telling me, why aren't you doing this? I'm like, because I'm not doing it anymore. I said, well, maybe you should try it again. And that's what I said. I did my first convention about 3 years ago. Was in a library, little library show. Did a really quick, did one sale of a piece I'd done. I was like, man, I had forgotten all this stuff. And I did it with my daughter. And from then on, I've been doing shows, and I've been out there and meeting new people and enjoying the ride right now. It's just been a really, really gracious time. Like I said, I tell everybody, 99% of all the artists you're going to meet are absolutely the greatest people. They're absolutely welcoming, because at the end of the day, there is some competition. There is a little, because we all have a little bit of that in us. But at the end of the day, we're not really competing with each other. It's more like we're trying to do what we love, what we really enjoy. And most of us, like I said, the 99% of us who are like, yeah, this is awesome. We root for each other and stuff, like all the time, and so for me, it's been a really great experience, overall. And it's daunting at times, it's frustrating at times, but uh, it's been a hell of a ride up to now. I can't wait to keep going, especially at my age.
Well, I
Just
mean, it
starting
is.
it. I'm starting as an old man practically, so it's like it's almost like a cheat, man. It's like I look at my daughter, and she gets all this good stuff. I bought her the Photoshop. She's got the Clip Studio. She has Dash 3, and I go like, man, I remember when. like the old guy, get off the lawn. That was like, no, I remember when I used to have to go and get this really nasty ink that it was impossible to get off my hands later, and the paper was rough and stuff to do it, and getting just to be able to produce the work we used to do, which was in 4-color, and you really had to know how to divide those colors. There was a few colors in there in the comics. If you look at those old 70s comics, 80s comics, everybody's like, oh, but look how pretty they are today. No, they weren't that it wasn't that easy before. It was a lot harder to get things done. So am I a little jealous? Yeah, because I wish I had like 20 years less of me. So I could give this a run for its money, but we'll give it a try. We'll give it a try.
Hey, you never know. It could be just that one person that just needs to see it the right way and go, you know what, that's the exact same style or the same look or the same feel that I want to have in my next project. You never know what's going to happen. But speaking of which, let's go ahead and get into your art that we actually want to see on this. And I am actually going to give you the full screen. If you want to go ahead and let's start with your sketches and kind of go through that and kind of give us a little bit of information on those.
Let's find something around here. Let's see what we got. Okay. Let's see some original sketch work of mine, which is more recent. Primarily, like I've said, I'm an inker. You can see most of the stuff I have behind me, all the artworks I've done from other friends of mine are almost all inkers. But now I've also begun to reconnect with my penciling and stuff. So, like, for example, hopefully this will not, I did put it up here real nice. There, pretty much. There we go. Yeah, this is a Black Panther I did totally by penciled it in blue pencil and then inked it right over it. This is actually one of my prints I produced. I might have to pull some of these out of the packs because otherwise they're reflecting too much. This is a quick thing I did for when I try to do a little chibi work. For my nephew, he loves PJ Masks, and I thought, you know what? Let me do a little chibi for him of the PJ Masks thing. The other day we were doing a lot of these fan art 6 figures things, so I decided let me get in there. So I did these real quick. I did these right here, like 6 different characters. The Catwoman is based off a picture of a cosplayer. She absolutely loved it.
Now, actually, before you keep going, I want to go ahead and go back to the 6 pictures on there because that challenge is out there for a lot of artists.
Oh yeah.
And what I'm noticing is before it was one of those things just to pass time. It's just, we're going crazy, being stir crazy, that kind of thing. Just give us something different to do. Now it is taking the artist out of their wheelhouses. And I am loving this because I am one of those, we'll put it a nice guy off to the side type thing. I'm one of those guys that'll go in there and say, I want something totally off the wall that I want to put up on there because I'm not doing it to be rude to the artist. I want to push the limits. I want to see where your boundaries are and see if you're willing to go past them. So if you'll bring that back up one more time, because I like seeing that.
Yeah. And I have Pops and other people have made some requests that I'm trying to get to. But the thing is that I'm got a piece I'm trying to finish that I'm going to do a few pages, a few of those 6 of the X-Men, but with the medical masks on them in honor of the first responders. So that I'm going to still do, Pops. You see in this, it will come out eventually, but I got to work on it still. All right, this was the one I did originally. What I did was like everybody else is, give me suggestions, and I took a few from everybody, and I did a little different style for each one. I basically used for the Daffy Duck, the Duck Dodgers, and the Catwoman, I kept it very grayscale. In the middle, I used some 2-color tones, and the third, then I kind of played a little bit more colors, trying to get some ideas in there to convey those characters. And like, for example, I had never done Prophet from Wetworks, so and I tried to do the gold back where over there, yeah, from this there, that one, and it didn't quite work, so I'm not too happy with that. But the cosplayer really liked how she came out of in that picture. This is one I'm really proud of, and for this one, I'm going to pull it out real quick of the bag because this was actually an idea I had, and one thing is to have an idea, and the other thing is to execute the idea. And when I can pull both things off, hey, it's awesome. So basically, here's my original idea. I was given Gwenpool, Rorschach from the Watchmen, Lone Ranger, Dr. Fate, Darth Vader, and Cobra Commander. They're all pretty standard up there, but I said, we're going to do something different. So I decided, what if they were all one person? So that's where I tried to do this. This is the pencil version, which is I've done some grayscaling on it to give it a more look. So basically, you see one portrait, and all the characters are in there. Now I had to do something weird here. I had to move the Lone Ranger over and switch it with Gwenpool because I needed her droop to show, so people would go like, ah, I know who that is. Otherwise, it would be like anybody with a mask. But then the thing is, where it really pulls up is on the when I put the inks on.
So what he's showing right here, just so everybody realizes, that's basically a Picasso of the six. And he actually took pieces of each one, because you're doing like a full bust on each one, and then you take pieces of each one that'll fit in there and then come up with the finalized product. That's what I was wanting you to get to, because whenever I saw you do that, that was above and beyond out of the wheelhouse of what's being out there as the challenge. And I like that you went the next step forward on that. So yeah, definitely keep going.
No, I appreciate it, because the thing is that I've been seeing so many do such great stuff. I know some of them are using Photoshop to they do it in bigger size. They probably do it the sketch this size, which is a 9x12, and then reduce it to put them in each spot. Everybody has their style, but I did this at this size. The little ones over there, they're that tiny. But in this case, I will admit, I did go on the Photoshop to find the characters, to find a way for all the lines to move, because I wanted to be sure that you see that the brims can kind of run with each other over here and this way. When the Darth Vader's mask get over here with the Cobra Commander will move down, and we'll see it hit here. It'll kind of look like it will be the same part. Dr. Fate's over here in the cape will also match with Vader. It took me more time to find the pictures and figure it out than actually drawing this thing. Because once I knew what I wanted to do, it became a lot easier. And then let me see by any chance. Yeah. And then I decided to color it with pencils. And my wife says it doesn't look as good. And that's true. I agree with that. It looks better in black and white. It looks absolutely better in the black and white. So, and by the way, since I'm allowed to plug it, this is on the website. If you're interested, go up for it. All right, put this away over here.
I'm gonna double up on that. It's available on the website. Get it while he's got it.
Also, I'd like to play with some stuff every once in a while, some watercolors and stuff. I like to do real life. Once again, I got to pull it up because it's too much glare. I'll put these back in later. This I did based on because I'm doing a story for Stupendous, and I needed an entryway for the character, and I used this picture as a reference, and I decided later to do it as an actual watercolor work. I had another watercolor one that I did from a game called a Japanese samurai game that I did all with the original Japanese kind of bamboo look, and took that to a convention. It was gone. I was like, really? So I was really happy with that. Okay, so that's some of my original stuff. I like to show off some of the. Let me see what we got. All right, some of these are my favorite inks that are still available. Chris Williams is a great illustrator. I met him at Geekdom at in Philly in Oakville this year. We hit it off. He's really a great artist. He's under C-Dub on Instagram. He's done a lot of variant covers. This guy's awesome. And I did this one. This is a printout of the digital inks I did for this one. This is a Kitty Pryde of his with the dragon. I was able to pull this one off. And the funny thing is, I like to show off. I did this one on my phone. Yeah, I can do it on the phone. I like to do that before I go to my workouts. Here's the inks for the Wonder Woman I did with let me find a non-glare. There it is. With James Avila. I'm going to show you a nice little print of that one later. It's in black and white. These were done at conventions. This was a Red Sonja. I actually added colors to it. This one I've done. I don't know. I have really lost count how many times I've done this character, especially this illustration. This is from Idiano Silva with Mary Marvel, Miss Marvel. And if you had seen me on Instagram, you would have seen me actually doing that one live. I did that one live the other day. Not that one. There's another version over here that he did. I've done that one live a few times. Let me go through some history here. This was the actual first ink I did on a Billy Tucci that I showed him. Then he said, that looks pretty good. Is this a photocopy? I said, no. What do you mean? This is how you inked it? Yeah. How can you do it that small? I go like, and then he taught me, you know what? You should do it bigger. So I started doing it a lot bigger than that. I did that one originally for him that I showed him. Then I showed him this one I used, which is from the bombshells that he did a while back. Then another gentleman who has been super cool with me, and if you ever go to my website, you'll see all his work. So when he's permitted me to do on his pencils, Paul Abrams. Paul Abrams, if you are like me and enjoy doing a lot of reading of Sword of Conan, Savage Sword of Conan black and white, he's the guy. So this is some of the stuff I've done for him. This is one of the first pieces I've done of his was a Catwoman. Back then, that was like 3 years ago. Let me go some more recent stuff. Okay, this is my take this off of there. All right. This is my cover that here. Millennium Falcon. I have to pull it out again. I should have pulled these out. Sorry, Phil. All right. These are original. My original Millennium Falcon, X-Wing, and the Snowspeeder. And you know what's cool about this? There's no pencils because I inked them straight up. There's no awful references, no pencil layout. We're going straight up. So this is like a lot of work. And if you like that, you're going to love a lot of other stuff. You can see all the details. And actually, there's a small mistake in this, which I'm not going to tell people because I figured it out later. And I go like, oh, we'll figure that one and fix it later. So it's already done. Now this one here, for example, this is my prelim that I did for a print that I did. Christian Espiritu Santo gave me an idea, and I decided to do. This is the layout that I prepared for the eventual print. Now the print actually has a whole bunch of details that are not in here because DC Alonso, who usually he's now a colorist for Valiant, he does most of my printing, coloring. He just went all crazy on that one. I'll show that one later. All right, these are a little quick ones. Real quick. These are works that I've done with other friends of mine. This is from Sabretooth. This is a Man Bat. This was done partially with quill and a lot of brush. A lot of brushes in there. This is with Eric Hernandez. He did this nice little Two-Face, and I made it look a lot nastier. I love this detail. I was able to put it here. Give a lot of holes and stuff and really divide the face up. He did a good job getting there. I just made sure that we could tell who was who. Now, here's the one I did the other day on the webcam. This is like I said, I've done her like 100 times. It gets better every time, though. This is one from a friend of mine in Antonio Ochoa from Brazil. It's a black cat. This was a recent commission. Also, another Emiliano Silva. This great. I love how it came out. This is a great look of the Hulk. Like my friend Keith Williams said, it looks like he is not happy in that one. This is a piece I really love that I was able to do for Paul Abrams because it actually came out really nice. Oh, I gotta pull this one out. This was like we gotta show this one off. Pull this one out. There we go. Totally unprofessional. You should have been ready. Yeah, I know. Here we go. Now, there we go. I wanted to show this one well because this one, I like the way this is. The funny thing about this one, I did this one at a show while there, and Rudy Nubles, who also has been inking, is one of the inking masters. I mean, you just look at one brush stroke of his is like 100 of mine. He's like so efficient, beautiful work. He saw me doing this one and he was blown away. He was telling me, he says, I really like that one. I really like that. And I like the way I was able to convey the 3D effect of her scales on the bottom and stuff. So this is a tribute to Paul's great work to get this character. And I was able to really pull it out in that attempt there. Again, all these are available. Some for on sale. Some of them are not, depending on who the artists are. So most of you will see them on the website. And another Abrams. This is one of his Hellwish ones. I like this one, Captain Marvel. Now this one I have a different version. This one I actually used the real ink. These are microns here and a little bit of brush. I have a version I did this. The print I have is actually done with digital inks. So this is like the old school stuff. Here's our two versions of the same piece. I did black and white, blue line, and color version of Supergirl, also as again from Abrams. Here's a sketch cover, which I did in bigger format. I actually have them over there, the sketch covers. This is from the Sandman. The layout was done by a friend of mine, and I fixed it up. I didn't like the way he produced the girl death, so I had to really redo her a lot. And then this is one thing I did a test before I did the print for my Black Panther. I went with this idea, which is like using a silhouette kind of look and stuff. So there we go. You can see a little better. Playing with the dark, just a silhouette exercise, and it came out really, really nice. And then these are other things I've done for practice and fun. These are not for sale, just for the hell of it. This is off a Joe Mad. This is like playing with the fire, and I wanted to practice the fly. The thing I did two things with this one. I had microns on one side, brush on the other to get the two different effects. So you can see the contrast between the Thor and the enemy. This is from the Hell Witch page pinup. I worked this one live the other day as well. See, this is a Diego Bernard. Also on Diego Bernard, this is from the book, the cover, one of the variant covers. Pull that one out. I did this one a while back. Always enjoyed Brett Booth. This one's a really nice piece that you can see all the details he put in there, and I was able to come up with that one right there. And the other day I did this one, which is a John Byrne example of one of his works from Elseworlds and Swell. What we got over here? Oh, look at this stuff here. Okay, getting down to some of the last stuff. All right, this was the other day when I spoke to Mike Zeck. Last time I met him at a convention, he told me, feel free to practice on top of other people, because if you want to get better at some things you may not know how to do, look for somebody who's done it and then ink over it, as a practice. So I took Mike Zeck for his word. I have the original art behind me. I did a blue line, and then I did the Captain America based on his original inking that he did. Then I went right on top of it to give it my own look and style. Obviously, it makes me look a lot better than I really deserve. All right, here's another Paul Abrams. This one's called the Vampirella. This is the latest print I produced. This was supposed to go out we're launching it at Zap. Unfortunately, Zap was moved now for September, so hopefully we'll have it. This is a beautiful piece. This one I started working on. I began working on this one, and I stopped. I said, no, not good. Ripped it up. Then I went to start it again because I saw another inker do a style with it. And I was like, maybe this will help. And then I finished it now, which is I call it a Dark Beauty. Now, the thing with this one is that I couldn't get the hair the way I wanted to, but now I did, in the sense I played with some of the white gel pen and gave it a nice little look in there. Again, added some little gray. So I was able to really pull this one off, and this one came out really nice. This is one of the centerpieces I've done from Paul Abrams. It's a gargoyle. This has got a lot of quill on it because I wanted to give it that rough, leathery look. This is the gargoyle. Now, when I produced this one originally on Instagram, I had most of the skull at the beginning was in blue line. So people were looking at it and was like, wow, that blue is really good. I love the way the blue looks because I use a really intense blue. And by people telling me that, yeah, they would like the way the skull was looking, I changed the way it was going to go. Because originally I was not going to have all that black there. I was going to have a little less and just a few more details. So now I decided, look, let's give it this look that people seem to like so much. Let's focus on that. So every once in a while, even listening to the fans and stuff, you get a lot of good info and makes it improve. Now, this is one from a piece that he did from the Misfits. Now, this piece in particular is a very important for me because when I did this, I was still learning a bit of getting back into it. And I was not doing the shading and the stuff the way he Paul was telling me I should do, and I changed the style so I could get to this point. And I told him, he said, "Man, this came out really, really nice. What did you do?" And I told him, "Well, first of all, I use quill in a lot of this, and second, I channel my internal Bernie Wrightson. Bernie Wrightson is like my number one influence in all this." And the nicest comment I got from Paul was like, "Bernie would have loved it," and that for me would have was like, "Damn, man," because I never got a chance to meet him. Never did. And one of the regrets, but that's how it was. Okay, this is, I'll show you later the piece if you want black in the color, but I enjoyed this piece so much in black and white. This is from another gentleman from Brazil, as you can tell by the curves, that his name is Hilton Ravelo. He and I have done a few pieces together. I love this piece a lot. It took a lot of work to get that leather the way I wanted it to make it look. And but it was such a nice little piece that it's really one of the nice grab. And this is one that really, if I were to say, put me on the map for some people, this gentleman put up a challenge online, and he said, "Look, he drew this for it was to him, his mind, a really tough pencils." He says, "Who wants to take a chance at this?" And I'm known for not being too smart, and therefore I said, "Hey, I'll do it." So he put up this Michelangelo for the Ninja Turtles, and I decided I'll give it a shot. So I really went all out with this one. I went with micron all over the place, put some quill in there, and brush as well to get this. And it's obviously one of my most popular prints. It's like, though I get people saying, "But Mike, he's the nice guy. He's the calm one." Not here, man. When you get arrows thrown at you and stuck in you, you're not going to be in a happy mood. So I'm still waiting for him. He's telling me we're going to do a shredder side. I'm like, okay, let's see when that one comes up. This last piece here I'm going to show real quick is from Loco Duck. I met him at the New York Comic Con this year, and I asked him to do a fun Brainiac, and he did. It was really cool. He was really, actually, it was much. He did it like a really small size. I blew it up, did some blue line, and then created this nice little look, playing with some brush and using some quill in there to make sure I could try to get a little bit of that flavor of the 3D of the different shadings and stuff. So that's just some of the styles I can do. Like I said, I like to. My favorite way would be to use the quill. I'm working with brush pens. I got some windsurfs now I'm trying to use. I'm still flabbergasted how some of these guys and gals, I see how they use those, and they come out so clean all the time. I'm like, I can't get there. And I was talking to another guy. I said, "Look, how do you get those lines that I see you do all the time?" "Oh, you got to use a ruler." I says, "Wait a minute. If I use a ruler with ink, it'll run under it." "Oh, you got to hold it up like this and then do like this." I go like, "What?" It takes practice, man, but you'll get there. You'll get there. I said, "Okay." So it's all these little things you got to learn. Even at this, when I thought I knew it, no, you don't. So it's always a little good to know and ask. And that's what I'm saying about the 99% of the people who are great. They'll always come up to you. There's a piece in here somewhere that of a sequential I did for, and I presented to CB from Marvel. I actually met up with him at Terrificon, and I presented some sequentials. Obviously, I didn't get the job, but the thing is that at least I got to present it to him, and it was nice and stuff and everything. But then when I went over to another inker, Musa, he looked at it and he says, "You know what? You're missing a little something." He said, "Wait a minute, you gotta avoid, gotta give it this look." And he went onto my paper that I already finished, and he added these inks and stuff of his own style. And I told him, "You know what? You just gave this a better value." Now I'm gonna say that's mine, by the way. I did that too. Oh, look how good that area is there. But it's like he took his time to actually sit down, ink it something for me to show me. Mark McKenna did that for me as well. I remember that the first time I met Mark McKenna, we sat down for about 15 minutes just to show me how he would do a little hairline. He says, "Look how you change this here, and it'll create this." I once sat down with Rodney Ramos for over an hour and a half. just talking about different styling, and he was doing a piece for me, and he was kept adding stuff to it. I said, Rodney, you keep adding stuff. No, man, it's gonna look good. I said, he keeps adding stuff. He keeps adding stuff. Rodney, give me a break. And during all that time, we're talking about all the inking stuff. And then when I showed him my stuff, he says, you got to improve this. And he took a piece of paper and in 2 seconds drew a figure. I was like, what? And he was like, and just the time that some of these guys can actually spend with you is incredible when they have it. And if you get that opportunity to actually sit down with anybody just like that, like if anybody comes to my table, I will do that for you. Okay, if you show any interest at all, and in the sense that you come to me with an attitude that, look, I'm trying to do this. How can I do this? I've sat down with people a bunch of times, and I'll give them as much pointers as I can, good feedback as much as I can, so I give back, because at the same time, at my age, the people are still open up to me and they tell me, giving me all these great tips and stuff and opportunities. I'll do it for everybody else. It's like, why can't I? If one child, one young lady comes up and for something I told them goes on to have a great career, my job's done. Let's drop the mic.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've said a lot of great experiences you've had and everything, actually leading me into my other couple of questions that I got for you.
Oh boy.
Not that bad. Current situations, what they are outside and everything, we're all aware of what's going on and all. We can't go physically to cons and all. So what I'm trying to do is actually bring back memories of cons. So I'm going to ask you, what was your favorite con memory that you have?
Okay, this is okay. We'll go with one. I'll give you one on both sides. I'll give you one as on the table, and then one as a fan there. Okay. Last year at New York Comic Con, and this is funny as hell. All right, at least to me. Keith Williams had his table in the corner and one of on the sides in New York Comic Con. He was always gracious that he would let me crash there, in the sense I would sit there. He had a seat for me. I could put my stuff there, because I had a professional pass, so I was meeting people and doing my meetings and stuff. So I needed a place to like relax. I knew I could sit there and we could talk for a while. So one moment he says, "Look, I gotta go do my little thing. Can you cover the table?" I go like, "Absolutely, not a problem, man." So I'm standing there behind his table, and this gentleman comes. He says, "Hey, man, I love your work, buddy. I love you. You're so freaking awesome." I said, "Whoa, time out. I'm not Keith Williams, man." And so all of a sudden, Keith Williams comes in, and he walks around. "Hey, how you doing?" And the guy says hi to Keith, and he leaves. And I'm like, "Well, I thought he was your biggest fan. I don't get it." A week later, at another show, the same guy comes up to me, and I go like, "Hey, dude, I remember you." Yeah, you should. I followed you on Instagram. When I saw you, I was going to go tell you how great you were, but you thought I was talking about Keith. I was talking about you. I said, "What?" And he was actually an artist. His name is Zapata. Now we're great friends. And it's funny that the first time he was actually following me on Instagram, and he went to saw me. He says, "Oh man, this is so great. Let me talk to this guy. Tell him how much I love his work." And I was like, "Oh no, it's not me." I'm thinking that he's coming to see Keith, because I was in his Keith booth. So I just find that super funny. I was like, and every time I tell Keith, they weren't coming to see you, man. They weren't coming to see you. They're coming to see me. And then on the other side of the table, it's that you never can judge the book by its cover. And one of the things I went to Akron last year for the first time. And for me, that was really special, because that's an old stomping grounds. I used to live in Ohio many years ago, and used to live in Columbus. My brother lives in Dayton. So I told him, come visit me while I'm at the show. And so he's at the show, and he's there with me. And I tell him, I got to go take a break. He said, "Okay, fine." So he says, so I'm in the break room, and he's like, and I'm getting texts from him, "Look, you need to come here. You need to come here. I need to come here." What are you talking about? "You need to come here. Somebody wants to talk to you." Okay, fine. So I'll go over there, and it's this gentleman. Basically, I thought it was one of the guys from ZZ Top. It was like, just kind of look and stuff like that. And he's talking to me about, whoa, man, I like this drawing, I like this stuff, you like this things and stuff. And normally you would think like, well, this is the kind of conversation I know that people are like, yeah, I like your stuff, I'm gonna go this way. So I'm like listening to the guy. Yeah, man, I did this way. I try to do it this way. The guy was like, that's interesting. And all the time, there's another guy who's been going around. I've been watching him go around the table a few times. And I'm watching him going around. Okay. So the guy's still telling me, you know what? I really like that Vampirella, the one by Billy Tucci. I go, I really like that Vampirella. I go, oh man, thank you, right? I was like, how much is that? I said, well, that's it's one of my versions. It's in a canvas, really nice. So much. It's this much. He goes like, okay, man, I'm gonna buy that, and I want that. I want this. I want that. I was like, okay. And then the other guy who's got the third time around, he goes like, is he going to buy the link that you have behind you? No, he's not going to buy that. Oh, are you going to want that? I don't know. So no, I want it now. It's like, oh, okay. So it's like, you never know what's going on. So many things are going on all the time that as one can sometimes, every once in a while, people will fall into that. He's like, no, this person is really going to waste my time. And I've learned not to do that. It's just never know. I've been to shows. For example, there's shows in New Jersey where it's basically for vendors. It's for comic book collectors to buy the books. But every once in a while, they'll let me and other artists have one table. They'll give us one table for free so we can be there and just show our wares. And I was like, nothing's going to sell here, man. It's like, I remember I just went there for the hell of it. I know the guys at different local shops and I like to hang out with them. Somebody came up, started looking at my inks. And they're like, I really like this stuff. Well, how much is that? So much. Okay, how much is that? That much. That? How about that much? How about for all of them? Well, if you buy this one, I'll give you this one for this amount. Like $250. Okay. Like, what? So, it's like, and he took pictures with me because he was buying it for himself, and for his girlfriend, for everybody. It's like, and you just never know. Another time I had a bunch of families, a whole family sat in front of me a moment, just looking at my work, look at my daughter's work. And they were like, do you do commissions? Yeah. Okay. Can you do this inkings on this one? Yep. Okay, we want inkings on that one and brush, and I want this one with quill. And so here we go. So it was like a whole family. I was like, whoa. And it's funny that later on the pictures of the show, they show those are the ones that show up. Looks like my table is really packed for the day. But most of the things it's really more of whoever I got next to me. That most of the time, it's like, I know I'm say Keith's name a lot, but we're always at the same shows. We're always next to each other. And every once in a while we'll separate. So I meet new people, and I'll meet new people and you get to know them. And that's how all these things start falling into place. Like my work now I'm going to be doing with my partner is because of my relationship, because I met him at one of the shows. We started working stuff together for fun. Now we're going to do a book together. The other guys from Eric, I met them on another show. He showed me his book Soul Eraser. I said, that looks pretty good. He looked at my stuff. He said, my inking sucks. Could you do the inks for us? Let me try. What do you got? Let me try some of your promos and I'll do those. And then I did the promos for him. They were so pleased with it. He says, I want to hire you for that. And I said, okay. So, and I've had other guys who have sat next to me and we try and it doesn't work. It's like we go, our styles don't mix. And so I looked at his work and I looked at mine and I immediately I go like, I'll give it a try. But I knew, no, it's not, we're not going to blend. It's just, and it is nothing wrong with that. You could say like for every book, some people will say, who's the best inker that so-and-so ever had, and it really boils down to my taste, because I can say, like, for example, somebody asks, who's the best inker of a John Byrne? I might say Terry Austin. Somebody else might say Keith Williams. Somebody else might say, I don't know who else also inked him. Rubinstein, I think it did. So you never know. It all depends on when you started reading the book. Also, your style, what you like. One of the things I've always found, because most of the times at these shows, a lot of times you go through the frustration that you're not producing, you're not selling enough, you're not doing as much as you want. And I always remember my daughter when she used to do this with me, she was like, I don't get it. Like, you cannot worry about, do people like it or don't people like it, because art is one of the most emotional and subjective things out there. So when I look at something, or somebody looks at one thing I did, they'll look at it through the prism of their experiences. Now, that piece may have a positive response, in the sense that something in that piece brings out something that makes them happy, and therefore they're going to be positive towards it. At the same time, a person may see something that may give them a negative feeling, and therefore it's not a critique of your work, is that it just doesn't call to them emotionally, to the point that they say, yeah, it doesn't mean that it was badly priced. It's not because you're terrible drawing, wrong. No, and that person, because there's a lot of stuff out there that even I will look at and go like, really? And somebody paid that much for that? Really? But it's in the eye of the beholder, you
Mhm.
know. And like I said, if somebody wants to pay $1,000 for one of my pieces, more power to them. Maybe somebody else says, well, that's only worth 5 cents. That's also power to them. It just depends on the way it works. Finding that balance is the hardest thing. That's, for me, that's been the hardest thing. Finding the balance when I look at other artists and go like, well, if he's charging 50, should I charge 30 or the same 50? Because it took me pretty much the same amount of time. So it's, as an industry person, when if you want to get involved, if you're watching this as a upcoming artist and you're thinking, how do I do this? Well, it's always going to be subjective. Um, I go to conventions and I go with the idea that I have these plans of what I'm planning to sell and what I'm going to do, and I play with it during the year. There's things while it goes on the day, because there'll be days that we going up and down. Now, I found some conventions, I found the happy number, which is like what price people will feel comfortable taking the risk on an unknown entity, which I am, versus somebody else. Like if somebody else, like if you got a person like let me see, Graham Nolan or Capullo, you pay $20 for his print, not a problem. But will you pay the same 20 for me? You're like, maybe not, maybe not. But at 8, ooh, wait a minute, I'll buy two and maybe a little extra. So
Mhm.
and it's not, you cannot look at it as that I'm worth less. Is that at this point in your career, you have to give the people the opportunity to see you. And if by that you have to go a little lower, that sometimes it is. It's really hard to take the ego out of it. It took me a while, because it's something like you sit there and you go like, oh wow, why can't they in this stuff? Look, there are people out there that are charged just for sitting down in an autograph for $100. More power to them. They've earned it one way or another. For the longest time, I was telling some people, how can you not charge him for your signature? And go like, well, and basically it comes down to, if a person comes here and says, here, I got this one book, you want to give it for free? Yeah, that was actually a good idea. But I've seen people go to this same artist just for him to sign them all for free. Well, no, you can't do that, man. You
Mm.
gotta you gotta charge at least $1 or two, something, and just because people will take advantage of it. They'll just, oh, he doesn't charge anybody. So the people that charge $10 a signature or something like that, it's all relative. All relative. I wish I could get to the point people will want me to sign stuff. Well, if all goes well, in summer of this year, it was supposed to be out in April. We'll be out in the summer. Stupendous #1. That's coming. That's a work of we're doing as an anthology, the superhero anthology. We got a whole bunch of guys who are doing it, and gals. You got Yvette, you got Matt, you got John. Two Johns are in there. Myself. We all contributed together where our characters are on the cover. We all did our pencils. I inked the cover, so I'm also on the cover. I got my own story in there. Luckily that it was delayed. Not luckily, it's not luckily, because it got delayed because of all the situation. All right. So sometimes you got to look at it in the positive side. So my story was totally different from what everybody else was doing because of my background, and I wanted to do a story that reflected a little bit of my own history. I
Mhm.
thought that where can a superhero story be different? This is what I wanted to do. But now, after all this situation that we've gone through, I decided that it's probably too much of a downer at this moment. That when this book comes out, we want it to be more of an uplifting thing. So I'm changing the story now. So I now have to do 10 new pages. So pencils, inks, writing, lettering, everything has to be done again. And luckily, John Muller, who is the guy in charge, has granted me some time. I don't know how much more time he's going to give me because I got to do it all. But he said, "Yeah, let's change it because he says we want to make it better." So that story will be put out eventually, if not next year's version. I am thinking about doing because right now I was already um, messing with it because the number of pages we were assigned was very, very exact. And nobody this year was able to swap a page or two with me because the story was going beyond the 10 I had. It was just the original story was too big. So I always thought I was going to do a condensed version for the book and then an expanded version. I would release it in a year after all the copies of Stupendous was done. But now that it's not being done, I'll be able to go back to it, do it the way I really wanted to do it, and produce it together with anything else, and probably like the original story or some of the back, so a little book probably there. And then by cut on top of that, I'm doing Horrendous #2 coming out for Halloween Fest, hopefully this year as well. And that one already, the story is done. I wrote it a while ago. I already illustrated most of it. It's got a few pages still left, and I got to start inking it. But that one's already for October. It's actually ahead of time, and that one is that's in my horror vein. That's where I love all my old. That's where all the nice inks are going to show up, and I already started working on the payoff page because I basically that's the way I work. I work from back to front in the way that if I can't get the payoff to look good, you got to restart. And some people would tell me the way they ink and draw. It's like when I did the one for the Mikey one, I actually started from the outside all the way in. Like first, let me see where it is. I think it's got a copy right here. Yeah, this is a print of it, so it's a little different. Basically, when I started inking this one, I started from here, from the nunchuck, and worked away all the way into the middle and finished with the face. The guy asked me, why did you do that? And it's like, for me, the face was the last thing I wanted to focus on, but I wanted to bring in because if I didn't feel that I can produce everything I wanted on the outside, I have to start again. So I needed to
Mhm.
be sure this would work because this for me would be the key. Now, because I didn't want to start here, then come out here and go, oh my God, this is, then I have to redo the whole thing. So I was worried about all this part out here. And I said, once this is good, everything else is easy. So it's like, and then I could really concentrate there. So you can see this one's though, it's not the print, where's the inks? The details of the muscles and all that stuff. That took a lot of time, a lot of real little inking inside. So that was a nice little piece that got me going there. I'm
Some
talking.
very nice work that you've got for certain, and we definitely want to give you a chance to go ahead and tell us if you'll tell us audibly where can we find all of this. And whenever he tells you, I'm going to tell you right now. He's going to tell you right now. We're also going to go ahead and have this linked at the bottom. So if you want to go ahead and let us know how we can go ahead and find you and get a hold of all this.
Yeah, again, like I said, the Instagram is under Studio Main EFL on Twitter and Instagram. Facebook, you will find me under Studio Main. It's really simple. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. The page for my studio is I keep forgetting it because it's under elopez / myportfolio.com. And I'll send you the link so it'll be a lot easier to go in there. In there you'll find all the artwork I've done. You'll find sketchbooks. Um, let me show this real quick. And these are the sketchbooks you'll find in there. This is the one from last year that came out. This is the one this year that was supposed to debut in the shows. Might still debut in a show. And then this is a little teeny tiny one that I did as well. Now this was the original version of mine last year that very proud of that. I got some great people to help me. Among them was Mr. Barry Kitson, who actually provided me with this sketch here, so I could actually do an original in the book for him. Billy Tucci also came and did. There's the Vampirella I did with him, and there you see a picture of him right next to me. This book has a lot of nice little works I did with Billy and with Paul Amos and stuff. I also did a nice little thing about creating the cover, which is what I'm going to tell you. See, this is why I was showing you how I started around the corners and went back in. This year's I went a little smaller to make it a little more practical. This is obviously the one I did in the front. This is a Zach Dolan Resident Evil 2 that we did a little while ago. This is the splash version I called it. I did a version that's very clean, but this one is like I splattered blood all around it with the pen on Photoshop to give it a little look. This one is also nice and small, but it also has a lot of nice little it's got 28 pages and some really that's a Spider-Man from a lot of artists from around the globe. This book is very international. Like, just to give you an idea, I got Paul Amos, Chris Evans, you got James Avila, Nalindo Rivero, we had Alan Goldman from Germany, Matt Parton, and Iliano Silva, Alan Watson, a whole bunch of different artists from all over. This is a nice little piece of book. And actually, because I've gotten better after a year, it's actually a nice book. And then this one is real quick. So it's a little teeny tiny one. It's like, this is when I started sketching again. That's my dog right in front there. So basically, I decided to do like daily sketches, and I just produced it in a little tiny book here. You can see that. Mostly daily stuff, like watching people at Starbucks and stuff like that. Restaurants. Somebody was reading a book. And of course, I had to do the little Baby Yoda, because everybody had to do one. And not only you get one, you actually get two. So in there. So those are also available on the site. They got sketch covers there, everything. I'm not in it for the money. So just look at it. Look at all the pretty pictures. I'm mostly in it for entertainment and having people ask me to do stuff for them. Also, there's things that some people don't realize you can actually ask. One thing, feel free. If you have an original pencils from any other artist, you may have a John Byrne or Frank Miller, or maybe somebody we don't even know about. You just enjoy that piece of work when it's in original pencils. If you scan it, you can send it to me. I can do a blue line scan, blue line inking original for you. That way you keep your original pencils and you have the original inks, two of them together. I've done this for other people. They do jams and stuff. We produce them. And it's a great way to have two pieces of art at the same time. I've had people actually give me the original and do it on them. I had a person ask me to do that. I was like, "Are you sure you want that?" "Yes, I want to actually see it on the pencil." So I'm like, okay. Because once you do a blue line is not really the original. So some people don't like that. They want it on the real thing. But the thing is that once I do it on that, there will be some erasing. So you actually lose some of the pencils there. And that's the only part I don't like about that sometimes, because I've always felt bad about doing that to somebody, because they did the work and then all of a sudden mine is on top and it's kind of disappearing. But that's the nature of this. If you look at it, then the colors comes in and disappears my stuff. So it's like my stuff is going. Where did that go? It's hidden there. It's hidden there somewhere. So yeah, like you can see that. Let me see. Let me see if that's here. No, it's not here. I wanted to show you one that I have, that like a separate one, but look, this is the Mark Parton one I did. We did together. I came up with the idea for this one and a while back. And now I'm going to be doing the Atomic Thunderbolt with him for next year. And this was actually one of those happy accidents, in that originally I wanted Anakin's face on this side and Vader's over here and the blade in the middle, but he put them both together in the middle. And we're like, you know what? Happy accidents work. So actually came out even better than that. So let me see, something here I could show real quick. Oh, this one. I love this one. This was beautiful. This is one of those I really enjoyed doing. This was the one that I did with digital inks, and then DC Alonso came in and just absolutely put a finishing touch on it. Now, the funny thing is that when I did this in black and white, I didn't notice a small issue. But when it came back to me in color, and if DC ever sees this video, he doesn't know I did this. So now he's going to find out I actually did it. The problem was there was a line really close down here in this area that kind of gave a wrong impression. So I looked at it in black and white. You couldn't notice. It's very, very subtle. But once the color comes through, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay. Can I show one thing real quick? But I have to get up to get it. Is that okay?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Real quick. I forgot to bring that.
He has got a lot to show. He has got a lot of work he's been working on. So definitely we're going to give him a little bit of time on this. Go ahead and go through some stuff. But definitely been enjoying this and looking forward to more.
Okay, I just want to show this because I totally forgot to, this is one of the things you won't see many people doing this. I decided to do this. The company that produces my prints, Googleplex Collectibles, came up with this concept, and I decided to do it. When I was talking about the story about Akron, this is what I was selling. And I want to show them here because I don't think the video is going to do justice to this. But anyway, this are prints on canvas. All right, this is the Ghost Rider that I produce. This is on a canvas. See, it's wood, super light, and it's all around. You can see it all the way around. These are all any print that I have can be produced in this format. And the cool thing is that they're numbered. And it looks like it's actually on a can. It looks like it's a painting. I did this version. I sold out of the link, but the link was actually the double link. It's the one with them both sides of the image, because this link has a lefty and a righty depending on the game you play. And then there's the Wonder Woman I just show you. Here's the Wonder Woman as a canvas. These are the last I have because I already sold one of each of these. I can produce more. I had a Resident Evil one, 2 links, the Star Wars one, the Vampirella. They all leave because I put them at a very nice price, but they're so light you can hang them with a little tack almost. It's super light, and they're very nice quality. And like I said, any print, any piece of work you guys see on my website, you say, I want that as a canvas, we can do it. We can get it done. I'll have to set it up and put it up there and explain it. But yeah. Now, I can't produce these today. Why? Because right now the printers are shut down.
Right.
But once they're up, all bets are off. Because I have a nice little deal in there in that if you like any of the prints, I'll have them sent to you directly. You can buy as many of my prints as you want, for whatever price you got, and we'll deal with it. But they'll ship to you FedEx for $15 anywhere in the U.S. Through this printing company. Now, because they're not working, I can't get that offer to you. I have them here in my office in the studio. I have them, so we'll work it out. If you really want them, have them now. But otherwise, I can get them to you anywhere in the U.S. in 2 days. And once they print them and over there, they're done. So the canvases, no, that takes about a week. The stuff goes up. And the cool thing about the canvases is that they're all handmade. So every single one is different. They might have a little F here, a little over there, with stuff like that. So they're all handmade. They can be of very different sizes. Now, the only problem with that is that when I've done if the original artwork is an 11 by 17, it will translate to a 14 by 14 the same. So I try to keep them at the same size. These are 12 by 18. So they're kind of like work in there. But even then, the Wonder Woman looks exactly like the print, but the Ghost Rider one, I had to crop it a little bit and get to the point that I didn't want to lose the signatures. Actually, it did lose the signatures. There is no signatures on this. They're gone. And I told James that the next time we're at a show together, we got to sign them both down here. To have it. I've had people after they bought them, they actually asked me to sign it on the back, under the canvas as well, to make it sure that they feel like they actually have something signed as well. I'm like, okay. I mean, it's really a nice way of doing this that is different than just having another print more, because that one will go up on a wall, unlike most prints like I do. I buy them from clients, buy them from friends. They're in my portfolio book and they're set there. Sometimes they'll go up, but the reality they'll be in the little portfolio. This way, you were kind of forced to. Hey, I can't put it in there like a slab. Put it in. No, it's got to be up there somewhere that people can watch. Slabs. I don't get that. To this day, I still don't get that. I mean, more power to people like that. First of all, they occupy so much space, and you can never read it. But then again, when you put it in there, you really don't want to read it because you want to pristine it as much as possible, but you can never get it out. And the other day, I mean, I don't mind. Hopefully, I'll have a book one day you can slab for it. I'll sign it for free.
Well, we have had a great time with you here tonight, Enrique, and thank you for being with us and thank you for doing the interview. And we've learned a lot more about you and your work, and we know where to find you. And I know this is definitely going to generate some interest on there, and I am looking forward to seeing more of your work as you progress with it and everything as well. And would love to have you back on the show at some different time as well.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be here. I love doing this. Like I said, I've been cooped up enough, and this is a nice little escape. I'll be doing an online con this weekend as well. So at least we're getting some getting together with some of the guys and stuff. And because at the end of the day, somebody wrote the other day on Facebook and saying, who of you actually goes around to talk to other artists? And most guys and gals don't, because they're focused on doing that work. But I always either get really early in there to start walking around and see who's there and just doing something to talk about, because once the day starts, it becomes a little bit more less focus on this. But I just loved going out and see who's here, who's not here. Oh, I don't know, and finding somebody I've never met before, or some book that I've never seen. I go like, oh, I've never seen this before, or maybe I've seen it. I go like, oh, you're the person who does that. That's all so awesome, and you meet great people like that. So sometimes we get so involved in our own focus of what we're trying to do, and it's important to that. But it also got to know to explore a little more, because it's not all going to come to you. You're not, again, if you're lucky enough for it to just drop in your lap, good thing. It's awesome for you. Most of us have to work for it, and honestly, I understand that. Nobody's going to come to me and say, "Yeah, I want you to do this for me." I got to go find it. So that's the way to do it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for being here. We hope to see you again, and have a great evening, and definitely stay safe and wash your damn hands.
Yeah. Keep it safe, people. Thank you so much for coming here. Thank you.
All right. We had another one on there. Enrique was a great guest being on here. We learned a lot about his art. We learned about his history, about his history in the industry, all kinds of different things. One thing that was brought up on there that kind of got my attention, and if you've been paying attention to my interviews, you know I always have a closing statement. And I never run out of words, according to my girlfriend, so I'm going to go ahead and keep with that. So my closing statement is this. I like whenever we touched on the fact about never judge a book by its cover. And that is incredibly true, because you just never know. There's an artist over here that has some work that is not getting as much attention as would be normal on there. Is that because he's a bad artist? Is that because he's too expensive? Is that because he just doesn't have the tools to do it? Or is it just because he's unknown? Never judge a book by its cover. That goes along with every member of the creative team and everyone in this entire industry and everyone around you. As humans, we should just be doing this anyway. But as far as I'm concerned, if we can start with one little piece in here and just do the comic industry and show that unity in here, hey, maybe we can make ourselves better and make the people around us better and make this world a little bit better. Just don't judge that book by its cover, unless it's a really good cover, and then delve right into it and judge away, because it's going to be a great book. But that's a whole different story. We've had a great time tonight. Thank you for being here. Demon Phil, Comics in Morning, Jersey. Keep it indie, y'all.